What we're going to do is protect the underneath of the Up GTI with some ACF-50 wax protectant. Now we're not talking about the monocoque because that's really well sealed and well painted. You can see the wax from the factory there. We're talking about these bits, which are just a bit of an afterthought. So they get a really thin coating of black paint that doesn't do anything to protect them from the elements really, because within one winter they will be going rusty. It's not really seen much salt yet. It is a little bit grubby, so we will need to clean that off. So we're going to do the axle beam, the springs, the shock absorber bodies, the backs of the brake drums. We're actually going to do the front of the brake drums as well, because this grey coating, it's even worse than the paint. I've got an Up GTI next door done 8,000 miles and they're already going rusty, a bit like this on here. So I don't really want to paint them, although this would probably be a good primer if you wanted to paint them black. But I'd rather just get some wax on them before they start to corrode, so it's not too late on this car yet. At the front of the car, there is more to do. I'll just get my light. So there's not really much you can do here. Maybe this plate that sort of protects the exhaust from falling down on the ground, that's metal. We've got the subframe here made of steel. We've got the wishbones made of steel. We've got the backs of the brake discs again made of steel. But I think that is pretty much it. So yeah, it's not going to take too much effort. And we're going to spray it on mainly, but we're also going to use a brush to apply it to tricky areas. It just makes it a lot easier to get into the bits that you can't normally get into. When I did my Club Sport S, I did it actually before I even hit the road in it at the dealer when it was had a pre-delivery inspection. So it was better than not doing it, but I couldn't take the wheels off and get all around the shock absorbers. And it's a lot more complicated on a Mark 7 or a Mark 6 or a Mark 5 because there's a hell of a lot more bits and pieces because of the independent suspension. But if you've got an older Golf, so Mark 4 or earlier, even a Mark 1, this is probably what your rear axle will look like. Pretty much identical, apart from your springs will be around the shocks up here. Okay, so before we can apply the ACF-50, we need to clean the area up. So all this sort of light dirt that's happened during the 7 months on the road, we need to get off. To do that, I'm using what's like Volkswagen's own WD-40 made by Quantum. It's just a very light spray. It's obviously not wet, so we don't have to worry about drying it. And then just use a rag and wipe it off. I mean, you'll get a lovely finish anyway now, but what ACF-50 is like this, but 10 times thicker and a lot more durable. I kept on checking my Club Sport S throughout the couple of years I had it, and the stuff I applied when it was new was still there, doing the job very admirably all that time later. So yeah, this is better than nothing, but really, for what it costs, I think it's about 15 quid a can, and that should do your car easily. ACF-50 is money well spent. Right then, I'll just crack on with this and I'll be back with you when we're going to put the ACF-50 actually on the car. Okay, that's pretty much done then. So the cleaning process has been completed. You don't need to be 100% thorough like you do in a concourse show, but just get the bulk of any dirt off. I mean, this wasn't particularly dirty. Yours might be more dirty. If it is, it's probably a good idea to just get pressure washing first to get as much dirt off as you can. If you live in a rural area where it's muddy, you're never going to get it all off with just wiping it with WD-40 type spray. So just make sure it's clean. And now we can apply the ACF-50. Wow, I've been meaning to do this since the summer. It's just been such a busy end to the year. I've just not had time, but luckily the weather hasn't really been too bad just yet. So this is ACF-50. You can buy it on Amazon. I think it's about 15 quid a can. As I said before, it should do the whole car. Now you can spray it on or you can apply it by brush. You do need to be aware that it's a very oily substance, so it should go nowhere near the friction surfaces of your brake discs and in this case drums. So we're going to avoid the brakes with the spray, and then we're going to come back to them with the brush. So let's just apply. So don't use too much, it does drip down and it will take a bit of time to set, so the less you can use it over the next few days the better. Also be aware it does go on the floor and it is quite slippery. Sorry Steve at Newton Abbott VW who did the PDI on my Club Sport S for leaving your workshop a bit like an ice rink. You can get all the way down there onto the top of the beam. That's the side of the beam. Inside the beam there is evidence of rust starting just here where this reinforcement's welded, so not a moment too soon. And get around the spring, shock absorber body. Again, over the top of the rear axle on this side of the rear axle, bottom of the rear axle, shock absorber body, spring. Okay, that's the back done, bar the drums. We'll come back to those. And then let's do the front. Sorry if the light's not too good here. Just see what I can do to improve that. Okay, yeah, hopefully that helps, because I know people weren't too pleased with the light quality on the oil change video. Luckily it's not sunny today, because if it was it would be really glary under here. Okay, so subframe underside. Put a bit inside it. Bottom of the wishbones, again watch the brake discs very carefully. Okay, that's most of it under the subframe done. Just put a bit on top. It's going to be impossible to get right on the top, but it's not as exposed as the rest of it anyway. So let's just do the front of the subframe. Just get on top there by the steering rack. That's the mounting to the body just there. And then top of the wishbone and the front of the wishbone. A bit on the underside. Always good to do the ball joint bolts because they can be a nightmare when they're corroded. Again, that's the mounting for the subframe to body, the pivot for the wishbone. Spray a bit on the anti-roll bar as well, because that's just a plastic casing on a metal bar which quite often splits and corrodes. Bit on the tie rod, a bit more on the anti-roll bar. Top of the wishbone, subframe side on. Yeah, I think that's good, don't need to go crazy. And just beware of the floor, as you can see it's making a bit of a mess. So yeah, don't go and ruin your parents' lovely driveway or your own lovely driveway. Actually, another thing we need to do are the front shock absorber struts and springs. Yeah, I forgot about those, so they need a good clean. Okay, I'll just clean the struts a bit and the spring at the front. And a bit of the hub as well, the knuckle there. You can see there's a bit of corrosion already just here. So I don't really want to get this stuff on the CV boot because it'll just fly everywhere. So I'm going to put some tissue paper over that. because really we don't need anti-corrosion stuff on a rubber boot, do we? So. There we go, so that's covered up. So now we can get spraying. If you've left the key in the ignition while the car's in the air, you can move the steering rack around to get the hub pivoting so you can get right in there. So there we go, cover that rusty bit. Get behind the struts as well. A bit more on the drive shafts. And then bottom of the shock absorber. Try and catch the spring if you can. You'll never get it all. Really doesn't matter if it goes on the chassis. Just need to make sure it doesn't end up on your tyre. So by all means wipe any excess off where you don't want it to be. Just use your common sense. Okay, that's good. And then try and do this with one hand. One hand might be tricky. So if I look really ham-fisted, trust me, it doesn't help doing this with a camera in my hand. So no nasty comments, please. Okay, right, onto the struts again. This is the other side of it. So we'll meet up around the back with the other bit. Bit onto the anti-roll bar. Drop link. That's good. Yep, 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 yep. Yep, that's good. Okay, we'll leave the tissue paper there. Actually, I just want to get the hub bolt because it's corroded around there, but I don't want to go too near to the brake disc. That's good. Just give this area a wipe because we don't want it going anywhere near the tyres. So as long as it's not dripping, it's fine. It's probably a really good thing to have it on this inner wing, but we just don't want drips. So that's good. When we put the wheel on, hopefully by that point it should have all dripped off. It will take a bit of time to dry, as I mentioned earlier, but yeah, you just need to use your common sense, avoid the brake, getting it on brake discs and tyres. So one last bit to do, and that's the strut on this side. So again, I've given that a clean. I hope this is coming out in the light because it's a bit darker on this side. So just try and catch those coils. And the hub bolt there, a bit on the hub. Anti-roll bar link, and then just pivot it round. Excuse my clumsiness. Actually, that one went okay. And then hub bolts and anti-roll bar link, back of the struts, bottom of the strut. Okay, that's the end of the spraying now. You can probably spray the back of the brake splash guard if you want to, but I don't think it's particularly good idea. So what I'm doing is putting some ACF-50 in a lead. This is a lid for the WD-40 type stuff. And then I can just brush this on. I can also do the hub at the same time. So hopefully this will, you can see this. So just spraying, just brushing it on here. Because these are real, just like bits of tin foil. They haven't got any strength to them. And the paint is just a flimsy coating. So just touch a few other bits. By all means, use the brush wherever you want to. If you've missed bits, just spread it across. So let's just get around the back of this drum. Just get in there. Okay, now let's have a look at the front. Well, we need to clean all this crap off later. This rust was on there when I took the wheel off just now, so we need to clean that off, but let's just protect this grey bit. So again, less is more in this situation because we're working with brake discs and near the tyres. At the end of the day, we just want to put a light coating on, that's all. So spreading really nicely. Yep, that's good. Good. So that's done. I've been looking forward to do that. Just spin the disc, sorry, should know by now, spin the drum around, check you've got good coverage. And that's that. Just again, use the brush wherever you can, get the bits you've missed on the springs. I'm not going to show you the whole process because if I really wanted to be OCD about this, I could spend hours touching it all in with a brush, which I might do when I put the camera down, but you wouldn't really want to see it. But just do it as best as you can. Remember, no car gets this from the factory. Very few owners do it. So even if you just spray it on and leave it, the car will still be a lot better protected than it was before. So, you know, if you've got the ability and the time to do it really thoroughly, then great. If not, anything is better than nothing. So let's just go onto this drum. Just put this down. And that should be pretty thorough, just a little bit there. Okay, yeah, that's good. Again, just check if you can spread it around a bit, check the bits you've missed. So that looks pretty well protected to me. Stop dripping now as well, so there's not really that much on the floor. And as I said, it takes a bit of time to set properly. It'll go a little bit opaque over time, so the less you can drive it now the better, because the dirt will just stick to it. I think I'll check the instructions actually. Let's have a look. So it's a spray or wipe on a uniform coat of ACF-50 directly onto the areas to be protected. Well, actually it doesn't say anything about leaving it on there for a certain amount of time, so I wouldn't worry too much, but it would make sense to let it dry. So I've noticed it takes a few days for that, and in the meantime you'll find dirt sticks to it a lot more, but it's still protected. So again, it's better than not doing it at all if you've got to drive it straight away. So that's lovely, all in there, lovely. Yeah, so I'm just getting behind, I'm just getting to the splash guard part of the hub where I didn't want to spray before, here towards the where the track rod end joins in. Just get onto the ball joint there. Okay, so now we need to do the back of the brake splash guard. So let's just get our little cap, spray some more ACF-50 in. So it goes very far because it's so thick. Didn't know it was purple till I saw it in there, but it matches the lid, matches the can. Okay, I think I'll grab my light off the floor now. Here we go. So that's the splash guard there. Okay, let's get some light going. Okay, so that's the splash guard. Again, like the back of the drum, it's just a flimsy bit of metal, and these just crumble away. So anything you can do to stop them is really good. So there's a bit of rust on that hub there. I'll get rid of this bit of paper now. So you can see corrosion is already setting in. Okay, and there's a little bit of the splash guard at the top there by the sticker. Don't know if the light's picking that up. It's so oily it won't stay. That's it. Let's brush a bit around there. I think that's all we can get to because the caliper's over there, so that's not going to have a splash guard bit. Good stuff. And then finally, a splash guard on the other side. So let's just grab the light. Okay, you probably need to turn the wheels. If your hands are oily, just avoid putting them on the brake disc. Just put that on here. Okay, so let's just turn this around. I think that'll do. So back on the brush, which is here, dip it into the lid. And there we go. So already a bit of rust, same as the other side. Just do this bit of the hub while we're down here. And then onto the splash guard. So very lightly done. You can see the disc is just here, that's why I didn't want to spray it. So I really don't want to get any on there, but if you do, make sure you wipe it off. And that's it. So the splash guard is roughly about half of the circumference. Excuse the light. There we go. Right then guys, so that's done. We've applied ACF-50 to all the sort of lightly painted black areas that are going to corrode like hell come the gritters.